What's up guys, welcome back to Mr. P's Film Review, and I'm here to give you another retro review from the year 1992, and this time I'm going to be talking about the erotic crime thriller Basic Instinct, which was directed by Paul Verhoeven, written by Joe Ezehars. This movie stars Michael Douglas, Jean Tripplehorn, George Dzunda, and in a career-making role, Sharon Stone. When a former rock star, Johnny Boz, is brutally murdered during sex, violent drug-addicted San Francisco police detective Nick Curan becomes involved in an intense relationship with a woman that he suspects was capable of the crime, novelist Catherine Trammel, brilliantly played by Sharon Stone. As always guys, before we go any further, I want you to hit that subscribe button so you can follow this channel, hit that alarm bell as well so you can get notifications when my videos are going to be uploaded, and give this video a like as well. Basic Instinct was one of the most groundbreaking movies of the 1990s because of its depiction of sex in mainstream Hollywood. Basic Instinct will be synonymous for a lot of things, including ice picks. Paul Verhoeven is a director who is known for using graphic violence and sexual content in his works. He did it with Total Recall, he did it with RoboCop, and he's combined the two with Basic Instinct. Basic Instinct at 30 years old loses none of its shock factor, and just like most of Paul Verhoeven's works, it is a film that was way ahead of its time and still holds up after 30 years. Basic Instinct has some of the most full-on graphic sex scenes that has been ever put to film. And what was interesting was when I was doing my research for this movie, I learned that no body double were used. There was criticism towards Basic Instinct and the amount of sex, especially as this movie was released at the height of the AIDS epidemic of the early 1990s. Basic Instinct was not without controversy upon its release, due to the sex and violence that was in the movie, for its depiction of homosexual relationships, bisexual women, and how can we ever forget the infamous leg crossing scene. And whilst there was heavy emphasis on the sex and violence within Basic Instinct, I feel that takes second place to the narrative of who done it, and that remains a constant theme throughout the movie. But despite all of these things, Basic Instinct is an ingenious crime thriller. This movie has a mesmerizing score courtesy of the late Jerry Goldsmith, who was Oscar nominated for this movie. And Jerry Goldsmith collaborated previously with Paul Verhoeven on 1990's Total Recall. Basic Instinct is beautifully written, courtesy of Joe Ezehars, who was responsible for writing some of the classic and most steamiest movies of the 1980s, including Flashdance, Jagged Edge, and he would reunite with Sharon Stone 2 years later in Sliver. And Joe Ezehars and Paul Verhoeven would collaborate again with 1995 Showgirls, which would be universally panned by critics and fans alike. The cinematography in Basic Instinct is mesmerizing, courtesy of acclaimed cinematographer Jan de Bont, who has worked on countless blockbusters, including Die Hard, Lethal Weapon, Black Rain, and he has executed his brilliance here with Basic Instinct. Basic Instinct has an excellent cast. The incredibly versatile Michael Douglas gives us another intense and riveting performance as Nick Curan, a San Francisco police detective. And it was interesting that Michael Douglas plays a San Francisco police detective in this movie because he actually got his start on TV on the streets of San Francisco alongside Carl Malden. You got reliable support from George Dzunda, Jean Tripplehorn. Jean Tripplehorn's character Beth, the psychologist, who has a relationship with Michael Douglas's character. She has a very strong backstory as the narrative unfolds, and it was very interesting how they worked that in. And it's just one of the many ingenious twists and turns for Basic Instinct. But it is Sharon Stone as Catherine Trammel who gives a career-making performance. Sharon Stone previously worked with Paul Verhoeven on 1990's Total Recall, and he thought that he had found the perfect femme fatale, because what she brought to Total Recall, she brought to this movie as well, which was sensuality, but a level of violence as well. And she held her own against the venerated actor Michael Douglas. And you need to remember, Sharon Stone was a bit part actress at that time. She did a lot of TV work. She starred in Police Academy 4 in a role that was originally offered to such A-list actresses as Julia Roberts, Michelle Pfeiffer, amongst others. Pretty much all of them turned it down due to the level of sexual content. She was paid $500,000 for this role. But this movie catapulted her to the A-list and made her one of the hottest sex symbols of the 1990s. Basic Instinct will forever be known for the interrogation scene and the notorious leg crossing scene. And when I was doing my research, Sharon Stone said that she didn't know that Paul Verhoeven had actually filmed that scene. And when it was actually realised that it was actually been filmed, she slapped Paul Verhoeven and threatened to sue him unless the scene had actually been cut out. The infamous leg crossing scene has been parodied and spoofed in countless movies, including Loaded Weapon, Fatal Instinct, and even Sharon Stone herself parodied her character when she did an opening for Saturday Night Live, and did a cameo appearance in the 1993 movie Last Action Hero. Upon its release, Basic Instinct was nearly given an X-rated rating because of its explicit violence and the level of sexual content. But Paul Verhoeven cut out 35 to 40 seconds from the movie so it could get an 18 rating. An uncut version of the movie was released in 1997. Basic Instinct still holds as one of the most intriguing murder mystery slash thrillers of the 1990s. Upon its release, it grossed over $350 million worldwide and was the fourth highest grossing movie of 1992, behind Aladdin, Home Alone and The Bodyguard. A sequel to Basic Instinct was released in 2006, 14 years after the original, in which the action was actually set in London. This movie was not directed by Paul Verhoeven, and unlike its predecessor, it was released to negative reviews and was a box office disappointment, grossing only $38 million worldwide on a budget of $70 million. Basic Instinct still holds as an impactful movie 30 years on, and despite the criticism about the level of sexual and violent content, it has gone on to be considered a masterpiece and a neo-noir thriller. Basic Instinct has lots of twists and turns. Whilst this movie could have been a copycat-esque thriller, it works thanks to the intense performances of its two charismatic leads, Michael Douglas and Sharon Stone, who hold our attention throughout. And their on-screen chemistry is just sizzling. Basic Instinct pays homage to Alfred Hitchcock and his style of narrative in terms of murder mystery whodunit thrillers. And I cannot emphasize enough how much Jerry Goldsmith's score is just riveting and complements every scene perfectly through the tension, the drama, the action and the love scenes. Basic Instinct is beyond a shadow of a doubt an ingenious whodunit thriller with a very shocking ending. Basic Instinct still holds as an impactful movie 30 years after its release. With career-making performance from Sharon Stone, brilliant directing, brilliant performances for all involved and a mesmerizing score, Basic Instinct hands down one of the most ingenious thrillers ever to be made. So I'll give this one a very strong 9 out of 10. So guys, thank you for watching as always. Please keep on watching because there'll be more reviews to come. Please hit that subscribe button so you can follow this channel. Hit the alarm bell as well so you can get notifications when my video is going to be uploaded. Please give this video a like as well. Leave your comment with whether you've actually seen Basic Instinct and how do you feel about it 30 years on. Comment down below and I shall see you all on the next film review. Take care.